So today we are doing chapter 13 for SQL. I'm with Baba, and on chapter 13 we are mining text to find meaningful data. And then let's see, just gonna scroll down so we can start with our listing. So we're gonna go straight to our first listing, where our first listing, where is our first listing? Our first listing, we are doing crime report text, and let me see, am I on the right? Crime, we're doing crime report text, where we have the date, where or the date and the time. Actually, we have the information of when the docket was opened. The docket includes the time, includes the date, and also includes the type of crime which was reported. And then we have the docket number and the location. So, and then after that, we want to create and load the table crime report. So the first thing that we will do, we'll create a table, and then we'll name it crime report, and then we'll have the crime ID, which will have the primary key, and then we'll have the date, and the first date and the second date, and then we'll have the street, the city, and they both have the characters of character varying, and then we'll have the crime type, and then we'll have the description type where we're explaining what happened, and then we'll have the case number, and then we'll have the original text, not now, and then we'll use our path which from the CSV file, and then after that, on the database, after logging the information, it should look like this. It will look like this on our PG admin, and then after that we'll move on to listing 13.3, where we are using the regex match to find the first date. So we'll select the crime ID and then the regex match original text, and then we will have the format of the date there, and then we are selecting it from the crime report data that we have. So this is what we're gonna have. We'll have our crime ID, and then we'll have the date. So we are finding our crime report by matching the date and the ID. And then we're gonna move on to 13.4, where we are using the regex matches function with the G flag. So select the crime ID, and then it rejects matches original text, and then we will have the date format, and then it must have the G, and then when we put those inserts, this is what we're gonna have. It's gonna match and have all the crimes that are matching the function with the G flag. And then we'll move on to 13.5, where we are using the regex match to find the second date. So we will select the crime ID, and then we'll match it with the date, and then we'll select it from the crime report. So we are finding the crime which has been reported twice. So this is the second date that the crime was recorded again. And then we move on to 13.6, where we are using a capture group to return only the table. So we're gonna select the crime ID, and then we'll have the regex match, and then we'll have the date format, and then we are taking the information from the crime report, and this is what we're gonna have. And then we'll move on to 13.7, where we are matching the case number, the date, the crime type, and the city. So we are basically matching everything that is on the docket with the crime. So we're gonna select the regex match original text, then we will have the date there, and the case and then this format here, we're gonna use it as our case number, and then this format here will be our first date, and then this format here will be our crime type, and this format here will work as our city, and then there it's matching with the case number and the first date that it was reported, and the crime type, the type of the crime, and the city where it was reported. And there where we can see again, and then we have crimes which were reported, which are the same but they were in different cities. And then we also have crimes which were different crimes but in same city. So yeah, and then this is how it's gonna look like on our PG admin. Then we'll move on to 13.8. We are retrieving a value from within an array. So we'll select the crime ID and then rejects original text, and then we'll have this format. This format will use it as our case number. So what we want to see here, we want to see the crime ID and the case number. So we are retrieving the values within an array. And then we move to 13.9. We're updating the crime report date one column. So from the crimes that we have, we want to update how the crimes have been so far since they were reported, and then we'll say update crime reports. So and then we'll notify that we are on date one, and then we will have the date format, and then yeah, those formats there, and then it will also update the time. So yeah, so it's an update that from the day that it was reported and now what has changed so far. And then we're gonna move on to 13.10. We're updating all the crime reports. So basically what we're doing here, we're taking all the crime reports that were already reported and written down. We want to update since they were reported, what has been happening to them. So when last did we update them, and then how the crime was and what is it now. So that's basically what's happening here on this listing 13.10. And the updated list would look, actually no, when we go to, we're gonna go to listing 13.11, where we are viewing selected and crime data. So we'll select the crime by using the date and the street and the city and the crime type, but here we are on the date one. So this is the first crime, the first time crime. So this is how it's gonna look like. We'll have the date and the time, and then we'll have the street and the city and the type of crime. And then we'll move on to 13.12, where we are using a regular expression in a word clause. So select the geo name from the counties 2010, US County 2010, where the geo name, and then it will have that format, and then we will order by geo name, and then we will select the geo name from the US County 2010, where the geo name has that string there, and it should look like this. So we're gonna have the geo name, so we're having the counties location, and then moving to 13.13. So 13.13, we are so 13.13 is regular expression function to replace and split text. So we'll select the rejects, replace, we'll have the date, and then in the year, and then we'll have the split table, and then we'll have the insert, and then we'll split to array. So yeah, so this is what it's gonna look like after we replace and split. So we are replacing this with this array that we have here, I believe. Okay, and then listing 13.16. So listing 13.16, we are converting search terms to TS query data. So we'll just select your TS query, and then it will have walking and sitting. So it will split and have walk and sit. And then 13.18, we are creating and filling the president's speeches table. So we create the table and then we call it president's speech, and then we'll have the ID of the ID, and then the president, not null, and the title, the speech date, the speech text, and the search speech text, TS vector, and then we'll copy the president's speech by, and then in the inserts will be the president, the title, the speech date, and the speech text, and then it will also have our CSV file there. And then if we go to listing 13.19, we are converting speeches to TSV vector in the search speech or text column, where we update the president's speech. We'll set search speech text to TS vector, and then it should be in English. And then we go to 13.20. We are creating a gene index for text search. So we create index search on president speech using gene search speech text, and then it contains an entry for each lexeme and its location, allowing the database to find matches more quickly when we are searching. And then we move to 13.21. We are finding the speeches that contain the word Vietnam. So we want to see the speech that contain the word Vietnam. So we'll select the president, the speech date from the president's speeches, and then where speech, search speech text, and then include the Vietnam. So all the speeches that had the word Vietnam will show there, to show the president that spoke about it and the date. So we can see there was John Kennedy, there was Johnson, there was Gerald Ford. They all had Vietnam on their speech, and there are different dates when they said it. Then we're displaying search results with TS headline. So we select the president, and then speech date, and then TS headline, speech text, and then we will have the start style, stop style, mini words, maximum words, and then maximum fragments. And then from the president's speech, where the speech text, it has Vietnam. So there we have the president and the speech date and the TS headline, where the headline had the Vietnam word, Vietnam word. Okay, and then we have 13.23. We are finding the speeches with the word transportation but not road. So we want to see all the speeches which were including transportation but not road. So we'll select the president and then the speech date. So we need to specify here that we want transportation, not roads. That's why we have the exclamation, which means not. So, and then after that, we'll see all the president that spoke about the speech which had transportation but without the word road, and the date. There we have the speeches. And then we'll move on to 13.24, finding speeches where defense follows military. So all the speeches were after the word defense there was military. So we'll specify it there. It shows there with that sign, and then we'll select, and then we'll put this the insert here that where the search speech, we want to see the speech which the military was followed by the defense. And there we have the president who spoke about a speech which was containing the word military, and then after that it had defense, so military defense. And then we're at 13.25, where now we are scoring relevance with TS rank. So So select the president, the speech date, the TS rank, and then from the speeches where the speech text had like war and security and threat and enemy. So and it must be on the score should be on descending order. So we want to see the speeches which had these words, but we want to see them in descending order, the scores. So there it's showing, we have it. And then the last listing, 13.26, normalizing TS rank by speech length. So we want to see the speeches by their which had these words by their length, and it should be on descending order. So there we have we have the list of the president and the speech date and the score, and it's on descending order. So the conclusion is saying, far from being boring, text offers abundant opportunities for data analysis. And then in this chapter, we learned valuable techniques for turning ordinary text into data that we can extract, quantify, search, and rank. And we can use this regular expression to dig them out, to dig the text out and turn them into structured data and analyze to find trends. We can also use search functions to analyze these texts that we were learning. So that was it for chapter 13. Thank you, Baba.